Our movement has long said that we've won the battle of ideas. Well, that's just not true, because we're not in a battle of ideas, we're in a battle for emotion.
It's not enough, as you know, to have the right ideas. We have to persuade folks. It has to live in their hearts and their minds. It has to be part of the culture.
The whole idea behind this is very simple, and that is that public policy passes through a political process, and that the political process is responsive to culture. The first thing that is going to happen is the contestants will come up here in order, and I will just escape the stage off to the side, and they will each give an opening statement of about 4.5 minutes, and then they will return to their seats. And then the judges will ask each of them a question. Each judge will ask a specific question about a specific policy issue, different for each of the candidates, and they will respond to that. Then after that, the judges will ask another round of questions, and each judge will ask a question, all the contestants will answer that. And then we'll have a little information for you while the judges go off to the stage left and deliberate. And then when they are done with that, they'll come back up and offer some thoughts, and then announce our winners. So with that, we are going to start with Jen Gratz, since she is right here next to me. Jen, come on up.
I hadn't realized just how betrayed my dad felt until the day news broke that his union, the AFL-CIO, would join many other unions in not only putting boots on the ground, but in each contributing $250,000 to what my dad would call the opponents of his daughter's initiative.
Government workers are given a defined benefit pension plan. In short, this is guaranteed government income for life. And when the pension plans aren't making enough money to pay that amount, taxpayers make up the difference. These plans are inherently political. In bad economic times, politicians in good economic times, they increase the benefits. In bad economic times, they make our kids pay for it, or they just don't pay at all. But all the time, politicians are controlling the pension plan.
You see, that card you carry in your wallet that says you're insured, it means nothing if when you call the number on the back, no one answers. A University of Virginia study found that surgical patients on Medicaid are 13% more likely to die than are people with no insurance at all. So that means that we're spending billions of dollars a year to provide people coverage that makes them worse off than they were when they were uninsured.
One of the problems plaguing our healthcare system generally is, and has been the case for years, is that people who do not have insurance will go to emergency rooms and will all end up getting stuck effectively with that bill. So covering people will at least reduce what they call uncompensated care, people coming up and waiting to have to go to the very expensive emergency room visit. How would you respond to that critique?
Well, first off, we shouldn't double down on what we know is a bad policy just so that we can say we're doing something. In Oregon, there was a study that showed that actually after expanding Medicaid, use of ERs went up by 40%. People got such poor service from their Medicaid that they still went to the ERs, and they did it at a higher rate. And as I told you before, the uninsured actually fare better than our Medicaid patients. So really we're just saying to people, you're covered. We're giving them a psychological assurance by giving them Medicaid. So instead we should focus on innovative things like health savings accounts that give people power and will ultimately move to a free plan, a free market plan.
How would you explain to a financially struggling union household that the contractual promises which have been made to them for years and on which they have relied both can't and shouldn't be kept?
The problem is that bad promises were made to good people. Defined benefit plans are a false bill of goods that politicians have been selling public servants and taxpayers. And because of that, we are in a situation where the state cannot afford to pay its obligations.
I'm not in a union, but I know that it did good for my family in many ways. And I fear that that way of life is disappearing, and that this puts us farther down that road. And one of my fears in that is that perhaps a right-to-work situation helps the big guys, but not the little guys like my granddad and my dad. And what do you say to that?
I believe that right to work is simply about giving people the choice. So if unions are doing great things for their members, they'll stay in the union. But the bottom line is that the unions should represent members' interests. And what's happened over the years is that their leadership has stopped representing member interests. And so the members should actually have the choice and a way to hold their leadership accountable.
On the minimum wage, how do you respond to the CBS study this year that was pretty widely reported that said that if you raise the minimum wage, you increase the income of poorer workers?
My friend Stephanie was looking for a job and was struggling. She was getting married and needed to support the family income. So she got a job at Sheetz, which is a Pennsylvania gas station, and it was minimum wage. And Stephanie worked hard. She did not make a lot of money, but she was looking at the ladder that she could climb to management positions. If the minimum wage is increased in our state, it's jobs like Stephanie's that will be eliminated.
Dawn, I thought that one of the few actual verbatim lines that I wrote down in quotes, because I thought it was so good, was during your presentation when you were describing the gulf between the promises that have been made and what taxpayers are actually able to fund. And you said bad promises have been made to good people. And I think that's so important because often pensioners view this as a personal attack on them when it's not their fault, and sort of directing your fire where it deserves to be directed at the politicians who have made these bad promises to these good people, I think was really effective.
Right now, as we stand here talking about Medicaid, there's a child suffering from an asthma attack and a mother wondering what will come first, that life-saving doctor's appointment where she'll get an inhaler or the asthma attack that will claim her life. No child should ever have to die in agony like DeMonte did. But if we expand Medicaid eligibility to include childless adults, people it was never designed to assist, we're ensuring that many others will.
I really enjoyed your opening statement. The story of DeMonte is very powerful, and I liked that you spoke to our skepticism when you said, you may think I'm pulling out the most extreme example, because that alarm bell does go off in your head, and addressing that puts it to rest, and then you can move into statistics. I like throughout your answers that you wove statistics in a way that was not too overwhelming. There were a couple of points where I thought maybe that's a few too many numbers, but for the most part I think you're very good at doing that, and I like to have some of that weight in there.
But you also engaged the audience. You were the only person who then turned to the audience and sort of brought them into having that relate to their own personal experiences, which was an important thing to do. And I agree on the Oregon example. You showed your mastery of the subject in a really artful and smooth way.
I'm going to teach you what not to do right now, because this is a cliche, but you're all winners for having gotten here. And I really appreciated all of your emphasis on storytelling and really making that a part of it. It is something that our movement has to learn to do better, and it was exciting to see 3 people do it really well. Congratulations, Chantal.
I just want to thank Think Freely Media for challenging all of us to do something that's out of our element. I know I learned a lot from watching everyone's speeches, and thank you, judges, for all your feedback.
The Great Communicators Tournament was a smashing success. It solidified the use of stories and offered real-time communication advice to an audience of hundreds. It was a tremendous boost towards our goal of moving the movement to a higher level of effectiveness in communicating our ideas.